Apparently, the hype around AI is over. Does that mean that none of us have to worry anymore about our jobs getting replaced and the whole world can just go back to being normal like the good old days? I miss them. Well, we're going to talk about that today. Welcome to Everyday Data. We're your hosts, Patricia and Zach. We're grads of NYU's MSB AI program, and we're data and pop culture enthusiasts. And on this show, we love to talk about how data, analytics, and AI are showing up in our everyday lives. And clearly, this topic is one that is really much an everyday conversation in everyday life is around AI. And last year, the last couple of years, there's been so much hype around AI, but is the hype dying? I don't know. So Zach, over to you so you can kind of introduce our topic.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about AI hype, and it was related to our previous topic about the AI bubble, but this is more AI fatigue. So I think we're going to talk about that. But before that, we're going to get into a new segment of what's really caught our eye these past 2 weeks, because we record these bi-weekly. But in the past 2 weeks, and I guess more specifically this week, I think it's unavoidable because it is in the news, and that's Davos. So the World Economic Forum is happening this week. This is the week of January 19th, was Monday. So this week was Davos. Today, as of recording on Wednesday, yes, there's a lot of craziness in the political world, so we won't get into politics. We're going to stick to data and AI. And of course, yes, AI hype. So even though we're going to get into fatigue, I think the big story was that I'm seeing on all the socials that I follow is AI. So I cannot get myself away from LinkedIn, and everyone I see on LinkedIn that's in my circle. And when I used to work in IT consulting, so I do follow people that were previously at Capgemini and Wipro, but they've now gone to other companies. So I do see a lot of AI hype and buzzwords, which is definitely fatiguing me partly, but they're all at Davos. So a lot of people I used to
LinkedIn
know are at
fatigues me.
Davos. And so the article that I want to talk about, the news specifically, I was trying to cut down the hype for everyone, is from the MIT Technology Review. So yes, there's a lot of buzz articles from news sources, at least in the US, like CNBC, New York Times. But I found this one by Matt Honan at MIT Technology Review interesting because he's there on the ground reporting. And it was actually gave me a little bit of hope in AI. So his article is called All Anyone Wants to Talk About at Davos is AI and Donald Trump. Yes, exactly what I'm seeing on my social feeds like Reddit and LinkedIn. But he shared this like first day's update from Davos, and he was on a panel with CEOs of Accenture, Aramco, and Royal Philips and Visa. And they all actually talked about, surprisingly, benefits from AI, which was not what I was expecting. Because again, the other side that I'm seeing is, okay, AI consulting firms, IT consulting, they're just trying to sell their services. Yes, they're marketers. So they are hyping up the value. But these takeaways, like the Aramco CEO, Amin Nasser, described how they found 3 to 5 billion in cost savings by improving efficiency. Royal Philips CEO was, again, actual practical uses of spending more time with patients by using automated note taking. So these were just like two examples of like a counterpoint, which I think we're going to talk about, that there actually is value in AI. So this sort of renewed my hope in AI and the hype and the bubble. So that was one that I was actually surprised to read, this MIT Technology Review, as opposed to the other articles I'm seeing this week about AI hype and AI houses and everything going on in Davos. Over to you, Patricia. I know that was my segment, but what did you pay attention to this week?
Yeah, my news feeds are also like all about the economic forum. And again, we are on very different social medias. I'm so over LinkedIn. Most of my media is consumed on like TikTok and Instagram. But yeah, I feel like it's the only thing that everyone is talking about right now. And it's really interesting. It's really interesting how we like pick up on different types of stories too, because even when we started, like when we met to talk about today, we were like, oh my God, we both have a bunch of news stories from Davos. But the stories that we picked up are so different because for me, like I found it really interesting that there a lot of talk about AI, obviously. And I think a lot of the talk about AI that I kind of honed in on was like, what does the future look like? And what are leaders saying is the future of AI and how they were thinking about AI. And I love So the CEO of BlackRock, his name is Larry Fink, and he opened up the World Forum talking about just like the AI boom and the risk of the AI boom. And I love what he said. He basically talked about how, like, with any boom like this, there's so much opportunity for the rich to just keep getting richer and to leave people behind, especially when you think about things like energy. And that's the second story that was really interesting to me, is that I don't remember who it was. Um I think it was Satya Nadella. His name totally forgot me. Totally forgot it. But yeah, he talked about how, like, AI and who's at the forefront of the AI race is going to be based on who really invests the most in energy and like the cost of energy. And then I found it interesting when you think about like energy and who's paying energy costs. A lot of the time it's like regular people. And so there's just a lot of interesting conversation, I think, around like who's really going to be impacted by the boom of AI. And yes, like a lot of these like very rich companies are investing a lot of money into it, but there's a cost for the regular person as well. And so I thought that was really interesting. And I think that's something that people should be thinking about when they're thinking about the future of AI. And then the other sort of like just like summary of other conversations that were happening, I was watching some of them on YouTube earlier today. And I think there's just a lot of conversation around just the focus on the ROI of AI. And I
Yep.
think that's kind of brings us to our conversation in that, like, there was a lot of hype around AI last year. Oh, AI can do this and that. We're going to invest a gajillion million dollars into this and that. But I think right now the focus and what I heard a lot of the speakers talk about was they're really focused on like how our workflows actually improving. Are they improving? Are we seeing the results of all of this investment? Because we have stakeholders that we need to start answering to. And so I think that the ROI aspect as well was really interesting to me.
Yeah, and that leads us to definitely our kind of fatigue. And I think the reason why is, at least what I'm seeing on my socials, which is a lot of Reddit, is exactly what you're saying. So leaders are trying to show ROI. And an article, I forget the exact article earlier this week, or it's just a general discussion I saw on Reddit, was about Microsoft. So I'm going to bring up Satya Nadella, and he was asking people to stop calling it micro slop
Oh,
because Microsoft, I think is your organization a Microsoft organization?
100%.
And so if we are a Microsoft organization and if you use Microsoft, you'll know they are trying to put Copilot into everything. And that is
Literally
the blowback,
everything.
everything. So the leaders are trying to show ROI. What the leadership is prioritizing, again, this is what I'm hearing in Reddit comments, is if you're like you're like a program manager or project or program manager in Microsoft. If you have an initiative that somehow has AI, your senior leaders, because they want to show ROI, are going to prioritize your project. So it's like a cycle that, if you want to play the corporate rat race game, do something with AI and you're going to get noticed, you're going to get ahead, you're going to get notoriety. But then the downstream effect is us as end users, especially on Microsoft, that Copilot isn't everything, AI isn't everything. And this isn't just Microsoft. This is just an article because Microsoft is one of the biggest players, that it's Microslop. And Nadella was, please stop calling it Microsoft because it's just everywhere. And that's, I think, the fatigue that I'm seeing from the end user. And you were talking about that there's this push for ROI, but do the users really want it? Do we really want AI everything?
And is it actually helping us? Like, I
Yeah.
feel like I've read articles about how the push for AI has like created a very individualized workforce where really like I can't collaborate on AI.
Mm.
So like, but our companies want us to collaborate. I know over here in Ontario, like they're making us go back in office 4 or 5 days a week now for collaboration purposes. But then there's this big emphasis on using AI, but really AI doesn't offer a lot of opportunity for collaboration right now, at least.
Yep.
And there's actually a really interesting paper that Miro, which makes sense, Miro commissioned the Forrester Consulting
Mhm.
Group to create basically just like a thought leadership paper on how there are opportunities for AI to promote collaboration in the workforce. And so I think that there are so many opportunities now. And they basically just talk about how, like, AI can offer opportunities for collaboration, how that is where it needs to go, because I think what people are seeing is the actual work of AI. It can only help you as an individual make your work a little bit better. But again, like, it's not replacing the need for working with others, and it's making it harder to work with others when you're so individualized in your own prompts and your own Copilot and your own
Yeah.
Excel with your own Copilot prompts, or whatever else tool you're using if you're on Microsoft. Or I'm sure Google has probably embedded Gemini into everything too, and I know a lot of companies use Google products. But I think that the realization of how people are actually using AI in
Yeah.
the workforce is also kind of adding to that die out of the hype around the possibilities of AI, because, you hear now about these companies that they haven't actually, like, yes, it's great to see the companies that have improved the workflows and found efficiencies, but there are other companies, right, that have like fired so many people,
Yeah.
and the AI did not actually replace them. So I think it's like these little things that are happening in the actual workforce where we see that. I think the hype was like, the marketing team for AI, 10 out of 10, right? Because they marketed that AI could do everything. And now the realization is the reality of AI is actually like down here.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Exactly. That's my sentiment as well, that we were very hyped up on the promise of AI. And this is just a maturation of the industry and of the tools where ChatGPT was amazing when you first saw it. I mean, the first time using ChatGPT, it did feel amazing, right? Like talking to an AI, like it was mind blowing. Those first images, mind blowing. But then looking back at it, those first images were pretty bad. But it's the fact that it could do it was so now we're getting a better image generation, much better models. These frontier models are way ahead of what we thought was amazing like 2 years ago. But as you said, it's then the reality of, okay, what's the actual business impact? Where's the actual value? Where does it make sense to work into our individualized company's workflow, our personal workflow? And yeah, that's where you see companies like Apple that just sort of a tangent, but Apple's very slow, but was maybe that the better option? They took a more measured approach and they got a little bashed in the comments that Siri was not keeping up. But now that we look back at it, maybe they were the right way, that they didn't buy into the hype. And there's not using Microsoft to Apple example, the Microsoft, yes, AI is everywhere, but Siri, it's just on the edges. And I don't feel, I have a better kind of opinion of Apple and the Apple ecosystem because they didn't shove AI down our throats and we're not seeing generated images. And yeah, so I think there is a case for maturation of the tools, integration, and to pivot and throw this back at you with a slightly different question just to get us off this AI topic, but AI fatigue. So not just in tools, but I wanted to get your opinion on, because you're on TikTok, is seeing AI not just in the tools, but in our entertainment. So this is also, I think, what is contributing to the AI like fatigue, is that yeah, we were amazed by AI, what it could do on the work side. But then, yes, some people in companies and workflows like image generations, this is where I'm going and trying to connect this. Using AI has been great for like marketing and this AI content generation. And I think, yeah, if you're chronically online, you see AI everywhere. You see AI, like, again, okay, use a non TikTok example. In the comment section, it's all AI comments on LinkedIn, on Reddit. Half the comments are AI generated now. So it's really the dead internet theory. Is it all just AIs talking to each other for engagement? Are the AI generating the images? Now the image generator is so good that it's not even humans on TikTok, right? Like there's AI voices and AI avatars. So what's your thoughts on
100%.
the AI overload, not just at work, but in like home and entertainment?
I think it's really interesting. And I love that you brought that up, because I feel like I've seen a lot of discourse online around, again, that fatigue of just, I'm tired of seeing content that's just made by AI and not people.
Yeah.
And not to be so like, I don't know, like peace and love, but I have a background in psychology. So, like, I have my undergrad degrees in communications and psychology, and so I always go back to how, like, as humans, we crave human connection. We just crave connection, and after a while, there's only so much that AI can give you. And so when we think about how we love like art and creativity. Like, yes, AI is great for memes. And I think that's kind of where things are going is like the more content I see is like more meme driven.
Mm,
So like if there's like a funny news story that's broken out, like I feel like a lot of people will create like AI videos to kind of make fun of the news. But I feel like people, what they're wanting is actually user generated content. Like I want to hear from a real person about their opinions on something, or I want to see someone express themselves through art or through creativity. And
mm,
so I think it's really interesting that that obsession with like AI content has kind of decreased a little. I think where AI is still like desired maybe when it comes to like content creation is probably just like the efficiency of things. Like,
mm,
I made a video, I want to cut it down really quickly and really easily. I want a summary of this. So I think that's probably where it's being used. But when it comes to actual like video content, even my mom the other day, she was watching this video, she didn't realize it was AI. And so my sister and I were like, "Mom, like, like 80% of these videos you watch on YouTube Shorts are AI." And since then, since that realization has occurred for my mom, like now whenever she sees some of these videos, she's like, I don't like this, like on to the next one. Like she even wants to see content that's driven by real people. And I think that most people
yeah.
want that. And this is what I always say, like once the pendulum swings, and
Mm,
it swung so far, so fast,
yeah.
I feel like we're seeing it swing back now. Um, and not to take it back to the technology side of things, but I was reading this article, I was reading something online that talked about how like the way that we're going to see AI or talk about AI is now in a way that AI is just going to be embedded in the background of things.
Mm,
Like it's
yep.
no, I don't think we're going to be like, oh, AI this, AI that, AI this. It's really just like in the background of how we work together or how we are consuming data or making decisions, there will be AI in the background of that. But I don't know that people are going to be leading with like an AI first way of marketing the work that they're doing or the product that they're putting out.
Yeah, I
I don't
agree.
know.
I
What do you
think
think on that?
yeah, this is exactly I 100%. I think this is maybe just a natural phase of of adoption of a technology, right? Like yeah, we got that hype, then we get the overcorrection, and then it
Mhm.
just becomes yeah, just part of the everyday. I think that's definitely I can see that. I don't know if it'll happen like if it'll happen this year. Will 2026 be the year of it's really embedded in the everyday? I think we might still have like 1 or 2 more years before it becomes. I think 2026 might be the entire year of pushback, and then
Yeah.
27 will be like the integration year. But yeah, I agree. I think it's we went too far. We're
Yep.
gonna pull back, but it's not going away. And that's I think what you're kind of getting at, that it just becomes an everyday tool. We kind of reset to a new baseline that everyone uses it to some extent, and it just becomes yeah the new normal. We kind of expect it,
Yep.
that. But I think my is prediction for 2026 is a resurgence of yes like human generated content. 2025 was full on AI hype cycle. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's more video content, whether you're yeah YouTube or TikTok, even on written content like LinkedIn, because you can spot the AI. I get people are getting better about using like the M dash and emojis, but just the patterns of speech that AI uses, like what about think about this, or here's a great way to think about it. Just to use the phrasing the AI does, it's very noticeable. So I think there's a
Yep.
pushback to more human element and everything.
Yep. I totally agree with that prediction, and I'll add mine. I
Yeah.
think my prediction is that the focus will be on data collection because I
Mm,
do think that one of the factors that have contributed to this like AI hype kind of going down is the realization that we actually don't have very clean data. Like a lot
yeah.
of organizations
Yeah.
just don't have like clean data or enough, or the fact that you need like data over time.
Mm,
Data governance has really only taken off a couple of years ago.
yeah.
The reason why ChatGPT and all of these large scale companies have been able to produce AI so fast is because they've been doing this for years,
Mm,
right? Like
yeah.
years and years of data collection. And the reality, I think, is that a lot of companies, they're hiring on these consultants, they're creating AI teams, and it's like, oh, we actually just don't even have enough data,
Yeah.
right? And so I do think that this year, I hope that the trend will be like, okay, let's fix up our data governance. Let's focus on data collection, cleaning it up, and engineering it to be actually able to support like strong AI models. So that's my prediction for the future.
And speaking
Okay.
of the future, I think one thing that we could talk about as a future is our next segment, which is a book club pick.
Yeah.
And
I was just going to get to that.
okay, I know I was doing your segue because future because I was very excited about this book, and I'll intro it because I was mentioning it to you. It was in on our radar because it is a future. At least what I've read. I mean, I haven't read the books, but from what I've read about the book, it is a generalist approach to AI. So I've read a number of AI books that are more about one specific company, and that can feel dated. But this one, the one we're going to recommend as our book club pick for everyday data, is The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleyman. So this book was, using a quote from Bill Gates, my favorite book on AI.
Ooh.
Suleyman works for Microsoft now, but he was also the former co-founder of DeepMind and Inflection AI. And just to read like the summary, it's technology, power, and the 21st century's greatest dilemma. Mustafa Suleyman argues that the convergence of AI and synthetic biology represents a new unprecedented technological wave that will fundamentally reshape society, creating immense potential for progress alongside significant risks for global stability and control. So I've read a couple books that touch on what we touched on earlier, which is the downside and the risk in thinking about things like data centers and data quality and everything else that relate to AI. But feel like this book is as again, to throw back a quote to Bill Gates, is Bill Gates says, and I quote, "The coming wave is a clear-eyed view of the extraordinary opportunities and genuine risks ahead." So I think this is a good book to read in 26 as we get over the hype cycle, to also think about it holistically from the pros and cons of AI as we look towards the future.
I can't wait for this. And I love that we're also sharing the book before we actually read it so that if anyone wants to read it with us, read along. And probably not our next video, but maybe the video after. So, like, what, in 4 weeks is when we'll announce or we'll share our review of the book and have that chat. And so, hopefully, folks are reading along with us and we will all have a good conversation around the book in a couple weeks. Okay, so today, we talked about AI hype, and we want to know, what do you think? Do you think that AI has been overhyped? Do you agree with us on where you think AI is going to be going in 2026? Are you tuning in to the World Economic Forum? Let us know your thoughts, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.